Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new episode of Data Analytics Podcast, where we dive into the latest trend and innovation in technology and data management. Today, our special guest, Andreas Ingvar, a session expert in master data space. Welcome, Andreas. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hi everybody. Happy to be here.
Great. So, Andres, as we all know, master data is crucial for enterprise operations. So, from your perspective, what are some of the biggest challenges companies face today in managing their master data?
Right. I think let's start with understanding why master data is even important. Because a lot of people think it's a technical topic. It's something like data modeling or index optimization, whatever. So master data is a very crucial business topic, and I'm underlining that again. It's very much a business topic, and the problem of siloed businesses is a problem of siloed master data. Master data is there to basically give the skeleton to everything else that happens in your business. Those are things that exist. Those are things that your business is composed of. But now the biggest problem with things that exist is depending on how you look at them, you will see different things. They're inherently multidimensional. Simple thing. What is a location for somebody who works there versus for logistics that picks stuff up there versus finance that just treats them as cost revenue centers? So one of the big challenges that immediately get to the light whenever we do big master data projects is people just simply can't agree on not just the words to use and not just the definitions, but even on how the world looks like. So what does our business looks like? How do we structure the master data? And this leads to the first big problem of master data projects altogether. Seeking that consensus can be extremely time consuming. It can be extremely alienating for people that come in, they're business experts, they carry an understanding of their domain, and they have to come in there and find out why they are wrong and how they should be thinking about things. That doesn't make them happy. So we have two challenges. One is a business buy-in. Of course, if I'm telling you how my business works and you're telling me where I'm wrong, I'm really not very interested in being in those meetings anymore. And the second problem is analysis that never ends. Those workshops take a lot of time. So before you really deliver some operational value, you have to wait for a very long time. And nowadays we are in an agile economy. Nobody has patience to wait for 6 months till there is a slide pack that's considered final. Another problem with master data is, of course, the governance and ownership. So who owns the location master data? It spans all around the enterprise. Who owns the product master data? It is not one person. It is not one single function. So you need to create a kind of a group of people that together cohesively can take care of the quality of adjusting the master data to the changing business requirements. And remember, people inside that group, they're not going to be able to speak the same language or even to share the perspective. So this is also quite a big challenge that we see all the time. But the biggest challenge given all of this is simply the speed. So I have a digital transformation initiative. I want to deliver something that optimizes my processes across the whole value chain. And that means talking across a lot of business processes, a lot of business silos. I need master data because that is how the processes talk. When they talk about master data. Events that happen in the process, they are local to the process. But master data is global to the enterprise. So immediately I'm getting myself a master data problem. And to solve that, a typical master data project takes years to complete. Takes millions. And according to Gartner, 75% of them will fail.
Okay. That's really fantastic. So, as innovation in master data management has been rapid, so can you discuss a couple of technological advancements that have significantly impact MDM in recent years?
Right. So, yes, everybody, when they hear innovation, they think, oh, AI. So let me bust the bubble here. AI doesn't matter in here. Yes, it can make manual processes become automated, but that's about it. Because master data is not about technology. Master data is about KYB, know your business. You cannot successfully do master data unless you understand your business. And that means getting that expertise on board and making sure that you can connect all the dots. So here comes the first technological advancement that I think is the most important if you look at master data domain, which is connecting the dots. You no longer want to live in a bubble, just talking about products or just talking about customers or just talking about locations. You want to actually recreate a complete business universe expressed in master data. And knowledge graphs do that. So the first big advancement in master data domain is knowledge graphs. So ability of having this multi-domain, fully descriptive master data that spans across business topics. And that is very important. Firstly, because imagine traditionally you would talk about the product, you would probably eventually, after so many years and millions, get that data right. But product is manufactured at locations. It's sold to customers. It's manufactured from something the vendor provides. If those data points are not managed and not good, basically your product isn't good. Your product domain master data isn't good. So knowledge graph approach solved that problem by saying we don't really split master data, we manage all of it. The second very, very important thing that you can do now with knowledge graphs is business logic. Sometimes business logic is not about mining huge streams of data. It's about knowing where exactly my things are. How do they relate to each other? And can I automate the reasoning, like what happens if I shut down this location or I manufacture less of that product? Which location can pick it up? How can I better distribute it? All of that can be answered just using a full holistic set of master data. So it serves more purposes than just data management. Honestly, business in the background, they don't care about all that. They care about business result, and this approach gives additional business results that weren't previously possible.
Exactly.
However, yeah, so to me, this is the biggest thing that needs to happen in master data, that is happening already in master data. Multi-domain master data, knowledge graphs that power the multi-domain approach of it. Second thing is agile. As I said, we can no longer wait 6 months for a final slide pack. In 6 months, I, as a business stakeholder, I want my new digital product in my hands. Maybe not the final version, but the version 1.0, I want it. And that means I need the master data and everything else that builds up that product, which means master data, we can no longer do it in a waterfall manner. So agile approach to master data is the second huge advancement that is needed. I'm not saying it's there right now, but it's needed and it's emerging.
Really insightful. So, with the rise of AI and machine learning, how do you see this technology is influencing master data management strategies?
Honestly, that isn't the biggest fish to fry. So again, I'm not an AI skeptic, not really, but in this case, I've seen a lot of AI projects and we've rescued several master data projects. And honestly, automating the reasoning about data or automating data quality is not the biggest fish to fry. So the biggest fish to fry there is, again, understand your business, capture that understanding in a structured manner, connect that understanding to the data and the systems, And be aware that you can't afford knowing everything before you start processing, which means be aware that understanding will be evolving and changing as you go. And there, we cannot make do without a human expert. It's still very much business analysis, maybe with a different approach, maybe with a different methodology. But really, it's still very much about business understanding and structuring that. Now, where AI can help is a couple of things. For example, identifying an incoming entity as a certain kind of master data, identifying the quality state of the data set, and maybe even correcting that quality. I think all of that is possible one way or the other without even using much of an AI. Of course, with machine learning, you can make better reconciliation rules. You can automate reconciliation, so recognition that this incoming thing is a thing that already exists in my data set with a certain probability. You can do that. But that's not where the value lays right now. That's not the blocker to value yet.
Okay, great. It's really great. So, Andres, could you share your successful project or case study where innovative approaches to MDM solve a significant problem for an organization?
Sure, absolutely. I can talk about two very interesting cases that we had as Hakoona. One concerns a very large multinational oil and gas. Now, when you hear oil and gas, you should hear silos. Silos, silos, silos. This is a very old sector. A lot of it is still using mainframe technologies. A lot of it uses non-digital data. So there are literally experts that know what to do. And every piece of useful knowledge sits in their head. So there is no data at all. A large digital transformation aiming at making the supply chain self-steering. Supply chains of this kind of companies are extremely complex. And in this case, you could literally split that supply chain in 6 different companies, they wouldn't have noticed. Different perspectives, different jargons, different systems. One digital product or set of digital products, a suite of digital products that's supposed to automate a lot of supply chain processes there. Of course, problem number one, in order to make those systems talk, they need to understand each other's master data. In order for systems to understand each other's master data, the processes need to understand each other's perspective. In order to do this, the people should agree on a perspective. And that was going on for a very long time. In the meantime, the new product was developed, the new digital product was developed based on assumptions. Those assumptions proved not to be correct. It was not based on real data. So very much a big struggle, a program that is going into red. So what we've done there was to bring two things. First, the empathy. Funnily enough, I'm not talking about shiny AI again or any kind of technology, but simply an ability to go to those business stakeholders, listen to them, and tell them, hey, we heard you, and you are right. And we are going to take what you told us on board just the way you told us. And then in the background, we will connect those perspectives. We will stitch them together without mashing them into a single version of truth. That really helped with business buy-in. There was quite some challenge with that because the first feedback is, well, you want to know things. Guess what? There have been people who wanted to know things and they've been coming every 2 weeks and nothing happened since. So fixing that was a first step towards putting that program back on track. Second thing, we used knowledge hypergraphs. So this is something that Hakoona introduced, which is based on a knowledge graph, but a contextual one. So you don't even need to agree on how your knowledge graph is structured. Every domain has its sound understanding of the world that's reflected in a knowledge graph that serves exactly their purposes. And there is one knowledge graph under that all, but it can display different facets depending on who's communicating with it. And that allowed us to do two things. The knowledge graph technology allowed us to, of course, introduce something agile that can evolve very quickly. So after 5 weeks, we were able to start processing data. After 5 weeks in such a huge scope, you don't get much of analysis done. But what you do get done is some analysis, some that is enough to unblock some points and allow some data exchange to start happening. Was it correct? Absolutely not. We have changed that model multiple times, but using our approach, we could completely shelter the sources and the target from any change to the master data model, which means that whatever was happening in that MDM black box, but the program was on track. It didn't have to do any rework. It didn't have to do any migration. So we could discover and evolve as we go. The second important thing that knowledge hypergraph allows us to do is to establish a governance that is natural to the different perspectives. So instead of data governance, we introduced knowledge governance. There is an expert. That expert knows everything about a certain topic in, let's say, manufacturing or contract management. And they were able to govern their perspective on master data exactly in their own way, in their own view of the world, in their own terminology. And the alignment between the different knowledge domains was happening on business level, not data level. So you don't need to talk about data structures anymore. You really need to talk about, okay, there is a regulatory change. What are we going to do? How are we going to reflect it so that we always ship the right product to the right country, for example? And that's a business conversation. It's not a data conversation. So it is something that would have been happening anyway. It's not a new cost center. So with this, we could reach acceleration, flexibility, and the ability of governing sustainably the outcome with a very small team. So in fact, the team that's currently on it is just 2 people, as opposed to hundreds of people involved in traditional master data governance.
That's
So this is
really,
the,
yeah,
yeah.
great.
So that is the first use case. The same approach, merger and acquisition in a chemicals domain. Merger and acquisitions are a very big headache when master data is concerned. All the master data problems are there. So we are trying to make 2 silos talk. In addition, there is a time pressure and there is a political pressure. A time pressure, well, I just invested several billions into acquiring a new company. I want the value from it to come as quickly as possible. That's natural. Because otherwise I could have put those 2 billion into shares, options, whatever. There are ways to invest this money successfully. So it needs to bring back value quickly enough. And the second thing is the stakeholders, the business structures are being rearranged. So people are actually busy figuring out their places in this new world of 2 companies merged together, which means they have way less time for data folks asking questions and for sitting in the workshops and for steering what they perceive, well, IT initiatives. So in this case, the same approach with knowledge hypergraphs, contextual master data, and agile approach was very important because that allowed us to actually make the 2 companies talk without migrating their IT landscapes. So every company stays as it is. We understand their perspectives and we introduce an impartial interpreter between those perspectives. So you don't need to migrate ERP instances. You don't need to take any critical big decisions. Eventually, you probably will want to, but that's going to be a part of your IT portfolio optimization. You can do that later. You don't need to do that during an ongoing merger. Important is 2 companies can talk, they can exchange data, they can work as one. You can optimize your supply chain across both companies. You can spot the same customer that's customer of both companies. So that is where the value is. And that is, again, the prototype was delivered in 7 days to make 2 ERPs and a CRM system talk. And ultimately projects like this, time to value of them is less than half a year. Again, compare that to multi-year heavy MDM initiatives.
Correct. That's really important. So, we know as a business grow, so their data does too. So, like, what advice would you give to startups concerning MDM practices they should adopt early on?
Do it early. That is the advice. So the answer is really in the question already. Do it early. Yes, you might be small, you might have 10 people and maybe 10 customers. So what can go wrong? Believe me, when it's going wrong, it's too late. With the startups, and I mean, I know this because Hakoona is a startup. We've been through this, but fortunately, as a company that provides services in master data domain and builds master data products based on contextual hypergraphs, we are very well aware and we use our own product to manage our own master data, of course. But I can very easily imagine how all those Excel sheets and little files that you use to just capture the information for the time being, how that can grow into an unmanageable pile. So do it early. Don't buy expensive software. Do it somehow. You don't really need a shiny workflow. You are not big enough for shiny workflows and you can make do. Important is that you recognize and you know where your data is, what it means, what you are doing with it, and that you are consistently keeping it in a good shape. It is not very expensive. It is not a lot of time that you need to put into it, but don't let it sit around till it explodes.
Okay, that's excellent advice. So, at last, I just wanted to know where do you see the future of master data management heading in the next 5 to 10 years, and what should be the business prepare for now?
In the 5 years, an ideal scenario future that one way or the other, I think is going to happen because it's necessary is a future in which we don't really talk about master data, or maybe don't even talk about data at all. We talk about our business. We talk about the ways to optimize and digitize our business in order to give it the scale and the speed, but we really are focused on the essence. And that means that as far as it comes to data and IT, we have knowledge managers, so people who really know their domain, who act as experts, who share their knowledge with intelligent systems that can not just capture the knowledge, but also empathize with the user. In a way, I know where you come from, I know what you know, I know how you talk about it, I know what you don't know, and I'm going to help you understand it in this way. And everything further is really automated. So the line between business information and data is automated. And everything else is taken care of in terms of data flow, system interoperability by an intelligent solution that might be called AI. In Hakoona, we call it artificial cognition because intelligence is about knowing, cognition is about empathy. So an artificial cognition solution that takes care of the rest. So business people can do business. They don't need to be data literate. The data solutions are business literate. And that's, I think, where the future goes. Also, any change, and the changes are very fast in today's business landscape and will only get faster. So any change, everything you need to do is just make the change known to your digital business expert. So you have that digital counterpart, you talk to that system, and that takes actions accordingly and maybe asks you to review, approve, correct, so learns from you. But actually, as a business expert, you are really busy with your core business, not with governing data. Also, what I really see happening is the dawn of enterprise data models. I think creating a single perspective is not working, has never worked, is the reason why 75% of those initiatives fail. And I think that eventually is going to fade into the past. it's still held there by the fact that kind of businesses are fairly slow to move in terms of paradigm. So the old paradigm will live on just because it is the old paradigm, but eventually it will disappear. And with that will disappear a one business glossary that tells you, the business user, how to talk, how to name things. So I think a lot of what we see as data management, so necessary literacy, big governance organizations, single glossary, single model, that's a thing of the past today, and hopefully in 5 years, we won't see any of them. Not in the companies that want to succeed anyway, because again, we can't afford to wait 6 months for a slide pack to be final.
Wonderful. So, thank you, Andres, for sharing your expertise with us. And it's been incredibly insightful talking with you. And to our listeners, I'm sure you found this discussion enlightening. And join us in the next time in our next episode of Data Analytics Podcast. Thank you, Andres,
Thank you,
once
everyone.
again. Yeah.